Hey, everybody. Today, we are going to take away the mystery behind working with an editor, and we're going to see Francine's story edited in real time. Live on today's episode, we've got our special guest, Terri Wells, the editor for our Believe You Can Anthology collaboration, joining us today to show you exactly how this is done. Hey, Francine, how's it
Hello. I'm
going?
so excited to
Hey,
see.
Terri. Oops.
Yeah, so excited to see what Terry thought about my chapter.
And I'm excited to see how an editor actually thinks.
Well, you will get to see a bunch of that. I like to add lots of comments to let you know why I've made the particular change that I've made. Helps you decide whether or not you want to keep it. So, uh,
Ooh,
yeah.
awesome. So I'm sure we have a lot to talk about. So we're going to share Francine's story on the screen. And by the way, anyone out there that's watching right now, you can ask any questions that you want in the comments as we're going along. Okay, so don't forget that. And all right, you guys, you see this screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Fantastic. I'm going to get us out of the way. And Terri,
Sure. Well,
tell us
let
what's
me.
going on here.
Okay. Well, let me start with when you're working in Word. There's a way you can set it up so that when you're adding edits and making changes, they show up in red or whatever color, a different color from the main text, which as you can see is in black. So for instance, she had a title and I highlighted that. I bolded it. I added her last name. Those are the initial changes to this, and that's pretty simple stuff. Now, uh, as an example here from what you can see on the screen, I want to point out the last sentence of that first paragraph. My mission was clear: keep the planes in the air and the people who depended on them alive. Okay. Now, when we go down to the second paragraph, and this is just a sort of a stylistic thing, it's not, it wasn't required by the grammar. You'll see, but while I kept the planes flying, I was slowly breaking down. I added that to echo her mission being keep the planes in the air. It's not grammatically it's not grammatically necessary. It's also not grammatically incorrect. It gives the echo and gives it a little bit of flow. Oh, by the way, you will notice those of you who are looking at this will notice on the right-hand side a bunch of comments. Those are comments that I insert to explain why I'm doing certain things. And yes, that is a word function that you can do that and add comments, and it will also give the time, the date, and who made the comment. So let's see. So Francine, were there any specific questions that you had about the changes that I made as far as things like spelling and grammar and items of that nature? Or we could scroll down and look at everything and
Yeah.
you could.
Just scroll down and give it to me. Give me your what. Tell me what you really think.
Okay. Let's see. From copy editor's perspective, I went ahead and you have it. The answer was a sharp no, and I added I capitalized the N and I added the quotation marks and the exclamation point to do more, to give it more emphasis. I changed in the sentence below that. I changed the what you originally had there. to give it more flow and to make it less passive sounding. Your version was, and yet that's what I was doing, expecting myself to keep flying without inspection, repair, or rebuild. And I changed it to expecting myself to keep flying without inspecting, repairing, or rebuilding. And I felt that improve the flow, and it sounded better, basically. Is my perspective on that. The 6-step process of personal change. Now, that's something we had handled before, and I know you liked it to be in that particular format. If it was just a sentence talking about a 6-step process of personal change, there wouldn't be a hyphen there. The 6 would be spelled out, and those capital letters would all be lowercase.
That's the way
As
it's
an example.
That's the way it's copyrighted.
Right, so that's why it's there. But of course, I wouldn't have been doing my job if I hadn't pointed out, you know, and if it's copyrighted that way, you could add the copyright symbol.
I'm glad you
Just
said that,
showing.
because I was just going to ask that question. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. And okay, next line down, I added an M dash, which again I feel helps the flow. Now, M dashes have gotten a bad reputation because they say, oh well, it's AIs that use M dashes. Well, AIs are trained on humans. Human writers, good human writers, we use M dashes when they are when they make sense, and it made sense to have one here because the way you,
Can you explain what an M dash is for those?
oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let me see if I can do it in 25 words or less. There are 3 kinds of dashes. The smallest is a hyphen, and that's the what is between the 6 and step up here. The next is called an N dash, N like the letter no, and that one is mostly used to tell like a range of dates. It would, or a range of pages. Like if you're talking about pages and you say, oh yes, read the chapter from page 75 to 95. Well, the hyphen would go between the sorry, not the hyphen, the N dash would go between the 75 and the 95. If you were writing it out like that. The M dash is the longest dash, and that is also in a lot of ways the most flexible. Exactly. The one right there is an M dash, and it's not the easiest thing to explain when to use it. It can substitute, it can be used in the place of parentheses sometimes, as an example. It's kind of used to bring in a thought that would be an aside. And it's really effective. It keeps things moving while also letting the reader take a little bit of a breath. So you originally had...
I have another question. How
Yes.
do you add that copyright symbol?
Here, okay. Unfortunately, I'm not as familiar with that, but I believe there are shortcuts for that. There's a and that's one of those things that you Google and you find out how do you add the copyright symbol in Word. And Google's usually good at turning up. There's like a keyboard shortcut thing that you press that causes it to appear. And I'm sorry I couldn't give you a better answer. But yeah, originally looking at where I put to get back to that, looking where I put the M dash, you originally had it step by step, I rebuilt, period. Slowly, painfully, but steadily. Slowly, painfully, but steadily is kind of a sentence fragment. So I combined the two into what it ended up. Step by step, I rebuilt. M dash, slowly, comma, painfully, but steadily. And then that becomes one, it unites the thoughts really well. Let's see. I added the comma after could, because that's a grammar thing. And there's this whole section here where I reformatted. If you scroll down, you can see the original. So scroll down a little further. You originally had this section as a list. And I looked at that and I said, there is a more formal way to format a list using bullets. And there's a couple of different style books differ on the best way to do that. I actually chose AP style here because I felt it was clearer for what you were trying to get across. And you'll notice too, she started with from the unathletic young girl wanting to join the Navy. So if you scroll up, you'll see I started with a sort of a sentence stem. Starting as an unathletic young girl wanting to join the Navy, this mantra enabled me to, and then you see all of the ways that sentence is finished. And AP style does have you actually capitalizing that initial letter. AP, by the way, is short for Associated Press, and ending each one, with that period, because it's all, each one becomes a sentence once it's added to the sentence stem. And I've probably gone into enough detail to make your readers go blind here, or our listeners. But if you scroll down quickly, we can, yeah. I did fix a few things. I thought you used accomplished. It can be a style thing to use the same word repeatedly. I thought accomplished was a little big for that. So where the second time you used accomplished, I put in prevailed. And that's another situation where I'd be like, read that sentence out loud, because a lot of people, when they read it in their head, but it's like somebody's reading to them. And tell me, and decide whether you prefer every challenge I set out to accomplish, I accomplished and came out, or every challenge I set out to accomplish, I prevailed and came out the other end. So yeah.
I like that sound. That's good.
Okay. Yeah. And I say that to lots of my clients when I'm making a change like that, because that's how you can tell. Now, contentment to me seemed too passive for when you're talking about something that you've achieved, something, what the result of that. So I suggested satisfaction because satisfaction to me has more of a, you went and did something and you're happy with it, as opposed to just, I'm just content. So this basically, satisfaction sounded to me less passive. Whereas and contentment is just contentment, but satisfaction to me implies a reward for the effort that was put forth. Let's see. Okay. Another suggested change in word choice was the one where that idea shaped my choices and my confidence. I was thinking self-image might be a better word there. And that's a thing that, again, that would be for you to consider. And I think the section below that's all highlighted. Yeah, that's grammatical items. And that was, I made some minor tweaks, and I made a suggestion. Like I lived an entire life fixing airplanes, raising a family, serving my country, and showing up for others. Yet I had never really asked what I wanted for myself. And I suggested it was a minor.
Can we remove the raising a family? Because I never raised a family.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know how that got in there.
Wait, I can do that.
That would be yes, you can do that. So yeah, fixing airplanes, serving my country, and showing up for others. Yet I never asked what I wanted for myself, because what I did was I put it more in a specific, more of an active voice. At least in my head, it sounds more active in the version that I suggested in my comment than the version that you have there. So again, that's another case. Read it out loud, see what you think. Now, before we go too much further, I would love to talk. Well, actually, how much more do we have on this? We do have a fair bit, I think.
Oh yeah. Plenty of time.
Yeah. So one of the things that one of the points that I raised as we were talking before we came on, and I want to mention this before we get too lost in the details, is when you're writing, regardless of what you're writing, there are certain things you want to think about. You want to think about the purpose of your writing. You want to think about how you want your readers to react. And you want to think about, what do I want my readers to come away from this with? And what would I like them to do afterwards? Now, if you're writing fiction, that's pretty clear. You're writing to entertain. And, in some cases, make your readers think. And you want them to come away having enjoyed a really good story, or maybe giving them something to think about for a few days. I know at least one horror writer who's particularly good at that last. But anyway, so I mentioned that because we're talking too. It's a good point to mention that, because you're talking about how you've been going through. You've been this mechanic. You went through stuff. You were then you started doing writing, and you never thought about what do you want, and then you segue into how you became a children's writer, and my suggestion at that point was, these are sort of two focuses here, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just keep in mind what you want to leave your reader with. So if we'd like to go down a little more, back to our story here. I see you talk about the lifestyle changes, and sometimes a short thing impacts hard. You talked about in this paragraph that's on the screen how you were making changes and how you lost weight, and you figured it would change everything and all the problems and give you the happiness that you hadn't had, and you'd be rid of every insecurity. And then you scroll down and you have a 3-word sentence. It did not. That's something you don't want to overuse, but that was totally appropriate there. It gives you the statement, and it sets it apart from everything else. It helps your reader to change gears, and it splat. There's the truth.
I have a question. Do you think that would be good with the capital exclamation point again?
No, I would not. I would not put a capital or an exclamation point there. What I would do is I would kind of leave it as it is with the period, because it draws attention to itself perfectly by just being all by itself, and putting in the exclamation point would make it over the top. There are places, exclamation points are something that you want to use sparingly, especially in serious writing. If you're writing for kids,
I can't do it, Terri. I cannot do it.
you can't not. Well, everybody has their voice. I will say that. But in this case, without the exclamation point, it lands well. And again, I did the next thing. I again did something that to make it sound a little more active, where you said, I was proud of my progress. I took pride in. It was my suggestion on that, and it makes it sound a little less passive. Let's see. Okay. Then we talk about, let's scroll down a little further, because I want to get into the children's books. Yeah, here we go. I love this where you're talking about, if you attract the children, the parents will follow. I fixed the grammar, but and I see that this is your key paragraph right below that, about your major change, about the insight changing everything. I took the concepts from my first book and rewrote them as a fairy tale. And I broke that into a new paragraph, because I felt like that was key. That needed to be kind of separate from the first. It's like the first is initiating things, and then the second is where you're taking those insights and you're putting them into action. And I felt like for a reader, seeing the two separated, the two shorter paragraphs would go down more smoothly, so to speak. And I love that you've got this going on. You remember we were talking earlier, Francine, about how I would love to hear more description of the characters and more about how people responded. You said kids of every age responded to it. And you could use even more powerful language of kids of every age. They related to it, they were excited about it, it felt like them. And yeah, you can see why I'm an editor rather than a writer. There's always a challenge in finding the right phrase, the thing that grabs people. And I love that your biggest fans were the grandparents who bought the copies of the book for their kids. So that could be, if you wanted to bulk out any particular section of this, I would suggest bulking out the stuff about the book and the describing the characters in the book, describing people's reactions to these characters. Scroll down a little further. Yeah. Oh, this about Camp Confidence, the Magic Library, a story that teaches children that their minds are powerful places, and Let Your Sparkle Shine. You're talking about what the books are about. You could do for each of those a one sentence summary that a 1 or 2 sentence summary that focuses on the main character. Like, again, unfortunately, I haven't read the books, but you could say about the Magic Library. This person discovers a magic library, and this is what they face when they do, or this is the challenge they face. And Let Your Sparkle Shine. You could talk about, what was it, Princess Sparkle Feathers, I think, in that one.
Princess Francie.
Princess Francie.
Sparkle Feathers is her magical friend.
Right. You could talk about, yes, Princess Francie meets Sparkle Feathers and they go on adventures or whatever it is. So yeah, so that people get a picture of what happens and who these characters are like and what the book is like.
Okay.
And I do love the way you end this too, where you're talking about what you're doing now. And yeah, I love that it's a dynamic where you're helping other people change, even younger people. But you talk about too how you reinvented your life in your 50s, not your 20s, and that is going to resonate with a lot of women, a lot of people my age and older. And it's a matter of believing in yourself. And that's the message of the entire anthology, isn't it? So
yes. We believe that we can, and we did.
Yep. My work today is simple. I help the next generation believe in theirs and even believe in their possibilities. And I help this generation see that the possibilities are endless. Something like that as a thought. So I apologize for going on as long as I have, but
no, don't apologize.
No, it was really, really extremely interesting.
So Francine, did that hurt?
Not at all. Now I could go back in and polish it up and make it better. And that's what feedback is all about. That is the power of feedback, brainstorming together like this. We learn from each other.
Right. And you keep in mind, these are all, I know the rules of grammar. I know the rules of spelling. I know the rules of formal language. I know some of the rules of some of the markets. But, ultimately, the author needs to look at it and decide, is this improving my work? Is this helping me get my message across to where I want it to? Is it going to reach my readers the way I want to reach them? And so that's the important thing.
What I've heard is I might even need another paragraph of how I took the lessons from my life and put them in the books.
Yeah, yeah, that could work. That could work well. And it's good too that you mentioned talk about your earlier book, the 6 step process for change, because I know there's going to be some readers going, yeah, you believe you can and you did, but that sounds like just a first step. It's got to be more of a process, and how do you do it? And that's an opening for your readers to go, okay, how do I get there? And contact you.
Right.
So,
That is a really good point for anybody thinking about joining the anthology. We are in this to get people to know, like, and trust us. So they want to be coached by us. So they want to buy our books. So they want to do whatever it is that we do and, get in our orbit, because we're going to influence them and inspire them to believe that they can do it too.
You may not have realized this yet, but the reason why people want to be in your space is because you're attractive to them. And when you are able to tell your story, it's going to resonate with some of the people out there. And when it does, they're going to want to know more. They're going to want to get through certain situations in the same way that you did, or explore that. Maybe the same way you did it is not the way that they're going to get through it, but you're going to be able to give them some different perspective that's going to get them unstuck from that situation that they're in. And that just keeps bringing people around to your space when you're helpful like that. It's really cool. And it builds community. It helps people out because they don't have to go through the same hardships that you went through because they heard your story.
right. Now we still have like a couple of minutes. Do we have any questions in the chat or comments at this point?
I don't see any.
I must have been that engaging, huh?
You were that engaging. Yep.
It was
But
really good. Yes.
if anybody has any questions watching the replay, first off, what I would love to see is tell us you watched the replay. Tell us where you are so we know who we're reaching, and ask your questions. We will get back to you on that.
And I would personally love to know what you found useful or most useful or helpful here, and especially if there's anything you have more questions about how an editor works or how to be a part of this anthology, by all means, please.
Or how to find Terri if you're writing your solo book and you need Terri to edit it for you.
Absolutely that.
All right. So we got to get this thing on a close. We have a Q&A session every second Tuesday of the month. If you want to find out more about the anthology project, you've got questions you want to ask, it's the perfect opportunity for you to pop in. So I am just going to leave that in the chat with you. If you don't make it this month, we're going to have it again next month. So just grab that. That'll get you on the calendar link so that you can join the Zoom. So with that being said, everybody out there, if you can conceive it, you can believe it, and you can achieve it. So
from the head to the heart to the hands.
Yeah. Yeah. You can.
can.
See you guys next week.